One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, Insanewheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insanewheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Man, oh man, do we always have some craziness to go ahead and present for the morning. Especially for, Monday morning. We always have a lot to catch up with because obviously what we do is we cover stuff that happened after the live stream Friday morning all the way until, current time, which is Monday. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about Iran threatens retaliation as well as Canada hits back at Trump regards to the tariffs. And then Hawaii faces flood threat. So that's what we're going to be mainly talking about. But let's go ahead and give you guys a chronological timeline of what we're going to be discussing this morning. So remember on Friday, we were talking about the framework that Trump had kind of put together in the aspect of the Trump tariffs over there in Canada regards to that 50%. Now, originally, the media came out and said, oh, Trump actually last second, an hour and a half before it was going to, supposedly be implemented, that he took it back and gives Canada 3 days. Now, again, people were going, oh, this is a deal. A deal was made. No, it wasn't. And I announced that on Friday. I said it's a framework. It could still fail, obviously. And that's exactly what happened. So after those 3 days were up, of course, those tariffs went into, they were implemented. And then U.S. imposes 50% tariffs on Canada as trade talks fail. And then after that, of course, it says here, negotiations have been suspended on that. So, and then of course, now, Canada is going to retaliate, and they said they're going to go dollar for dollar. So, all right. So that's the first story we're going to be talking about. Then we have judge denies Carmelo Anthony's bid for a new trial. This shit is going left, right. They keep throwing this shit up in the air. It's crazy. The whole Carmelo Anthony thing is just nonsense. And then we have TikTok settles for $400 million in children's privacy case. Oh, shit. Not unusual, though, from these big social media companies to get sued, Anyways, then we have, obviously, Trump 50%, Canada tariffs implemented, negotiations suspended, obviously. Then we have Iran strikes 5 ships in the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. talks stall. And that's a big one. I actually broke that news on Discord yesterday. Well, it wasn't yesterday. It was actually, I think, Saturday when I broke that 5 ships in the Strait of Hormuz were struck. Then we have Jake Lang also got arrested. Now, this coming out Saturday, but he actually got arrested on Friday, I believe. And I actually saw that right after the show on Friday. Then we have Iran vows retaliation if new sanctions issued. I think everyone knows about the secondary tariffs in regards to the economic D-Day thing, blah, blah, blah. We've explained that many times. If we need to go over what economic D-Day essentially is, again, it's just Well, it's not just, but it's secondary tariffs. I mean, basically isolating them from the rest of the world. Kind of like what we've already been doing. And then Hawaii braces for tropical storm, and they call it Moke, Storm Moke, Moke. Just 1 week after Lala, which we were watching that whole thing with Lala. So Hawaii's just getting smoked right now. Then we have U.S. threatens economic D-Day for Iran. Well, we already did that. And that's just coming out 3 hours ago. So it's interesting to see. I mean, we were threatening that, I think, Thursday and Friday. Then we have multiple businesses destroyed in LA County fire. It says LA County firefighters are battling a third alarm fire that reportedly destroyed multiple businesses in Santa Clarita, California. Damn, man, we got a lot to discuss, man. So that's what we're going to be going over this morning. Quickly, let's just do our call to actions, and then we can get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. You know what else is free is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. It's a good time. Speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $4.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. It's what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note, make sure you guys follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, politics, all that great shit. And also, it's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And then, of course, we have a Discord server for all of you legends, where we also not just all hang out and collectively hang out as a community, but we also break news minute by minute of, basically warfare in there. So we have a special breaking news area in the Discord. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, well, then we have these platforms you can donate to, flying around the screen somewhere. And of course, I get to keep 100% of the proceeds. And of course, we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. So you'll be able to interject and I will see it. Okay. And also a little side note about the money thing is we are raising money right now for a new camera. Yes, I know. So it's going to cost us a lot of money. I'm buying it used. I'm buying it. It's going to be $2,000 used. So anyways, I'm asking you guys if you're willing and able to send in a dollar or two, I would very much appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and get into the madness. Quickly, let me go ahead and just say hi to a few of you guys in here. I always try to show my love and respect for you guys hanging out with us. We've got Vanguard Critters as well as VC in the building. Shout out to my man, Virginia Chaos. We got Steve Posey as well. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your morning. We got Big Al, my man. Good morning. We got Rabbit of Chaos chilling like a villain. We got Sold Out as well over there from the Boondocks in North Carolina. And he says, hit the like on both sides. I agree with that. I definitely agree. All right. Let's see here. We got Beezer, brother Beezer in the chat, my man. Good morning. We got Barbie as well. Up there in Canada land, we got Jamie Lindsay. Good morning to you as well. We got Extra Surprise, my man Baker. Mountain Woman, chilling like a villain. We got TVT as well. Appreciate you for hanging out with us. Let's see. We're running our way down. I promise I'm going fast as possible. We got Steve Easy saying, did he get arrested for okay, well, I'm not going to say it, but yes, I see you, Steve Easy. And by the way, he's not feeling too well. Hopefully you're all right. We got Mr. Jack Talcott as well. Good morning to you. And Miss Lotus, shout out to you guys. All right, we got 2-4 as well. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to go ahead and talk about U.S. imposes the 50% tariffs on Canada as trade talks fail. Obviously, we were reporting on this on Friday. Again, I'm going to reemphasize that the media was sitting there lying to people saying, oh, Trump just struck a deal. Trump just struck a deal with Canada. I'm like looking it all up and shit that day on Friday. I'm like, there was no deal made. It's a framework. I don't know why the media was twisting something to be exactly like that. But anyways, we got Quick Shoe in the building. Shout out to you, by the way. Good morning. All right. So obviously this gets implemented. And then, of course, Canada is going to retaliate. You're going to see that here in a moment. But first, let's go ahead and play this out.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. My name is Alexandra Goldberg. And we're getting breaking details in the trade war between the United States and Canada. Take a look here at Michelle Price from the AP saying United States set to slap 50% tariffs on $20 billion in Canadian imports as historic allies can't reach last-ditch deal. The United States has imposed 50% tariffs on the $20 billion worth of Canadian products early Saturday morning after these last-ditch negotiations failed to resolve the latest strain and already tense relations between the historic allies. The Associated Press reports that President Donald Trump's import taxes will hit about 5% of what Canada ships to the United States every year, including products ranging from hockey sticks to tongue depressors. I want to put this tweet on your screen here. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer said, quote, Canada declined to finalize the trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week, despite the U.S.
Oh, shit. Real quick. Speaking of Cash Apps, man, we got Mr. Al Patterson coming in hot on the Cash App with the 5 spot saying, wake and bake. You know, we get down with our bad self, of course. You think that I'm not ready? Shit. Well, sometimes I'm not ready, but we're ready. We're ready. Let's go ahead and just do it up for Mr. Al Patterson. Absolutely. There we go. Start the morning right. All right, here we go. Cheers.
Offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market. New demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days. In addition, Canada is continuing to maintain its prolonged retaliation.
Speaking of, by the way, because we are raising money for the camera. And by the way, yes, Mr. Al Patterson, I'll put that 5 spot to the camera. And then we got my man Virginia Chaos with the 20 spot. Let's fucking go on the Cash App. And he says, camera money. Come on, people, donate to it. Yes, sir. I'm in agreement with that. And guess what? You get a sandwich for that. You get a sandwich. We're going to go ahead and sandwich this up.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not giving a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
That is also very true. All right, here we go.
Against the United States, including, among other things, flat-out prohibitions on certain American goods and services. Again, this statement here coming from the U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer. But Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney responded, putting this statement on your screen as well, saying, I've decided to suspend trade negotiations with the U.S. and have directed Canada's negotiators to return to Ottawa.
Oh, Steve Posey, that's lame. That's super shitty. What the fuck? Is the super chat broken?
At midnight tonight, the U.S. intends to impose a 50% tariff on roughly $28 billion of Canadian goods. Canada will match those tariffs dollar for dollar to protect.
That's exactly what I was just telling you guys, what Canada is going to do. They're going to match this dollar for dollar. So we raise it 50%. They're going to do the exact same thing on our side.
Protect our workers and businesses. This statement coming in from the Canadian PM. And if you'll remember here, the tariffs were initially supposed to kick in at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday.
Right. And because it didn't, it extended it by 3 days. That's where the media made it out to sound like, oh, there's a deal made. No, there was a framework, a basis of a framework and a timeline, which I knew was definitely not going to be met within 3 days. There was just no way. Not at least in regards to trade wars, man. Trade wars is just the step below actual war. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but trade wars oftentimes lead to actual war. So these things it takes time. It takes a lot of diplomacy. It takes a lot of back and forth negotiating. There was no way that it was going to happen in 3 days. So, of course, it failed. Trump put in on his 50%, and now Canada's like, okay, we're going to do the same to you.
But the president extended the deadline for 3 days to allow talks to continue. But the two countries still could not reach an agreement in time. This is the latest reporting we have on the battle of tariffs between the U.S. and Canada. These details coming into our newsroom just moments ago. We'll keep you updated as this story continues to develop.
Of course, that's what my job is to do. That's what I do. All right, let's go ahead and move on real quick. We got Fidel in the chat, by the way, and chatting with Stacks, my man. Good morning. And we got VC coming in, testing out the super chat, saying, what do we get from Canada? Well, we actually do get a handful of things. We do get a handful of things. I believe, milk and stuff like that, dairy products. I forget what like other main, there's a few handful of things that we get from them. Anyways, judge denies Carmelo Anthony's bid for a new trial. Man, this shit, in regards to this whole Carmelo Anthony thing, it's being tossed up in the air. And just like, I mean, every week it's being tossed somewhere, going to this, and Jesus Christ, it's just out of control with this. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up. And thank you, VC, for the $2 spot on the chat, by the way. There we go.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Anna Marsick. We do have some breaking news to bring you as Carmelo Anthony has lost his bid.
We do get a lot of actual electricity. Yeah, I'm thinking of actual products, though. But yes, electricity is very true, you guys, and your natural gas, right? We got Steve Posey coming in with the 5 spot saying, let's try it again. Yes, it worked this time. Yes, sir. Thank you very much there, Steve Posey.
For a new trial. This post coming from Fox News just moments ago. Breaking. A judge denies motion for a new trial for Carmelo.
What's up, NPC? Shit. We got Gabriel in the chat, my man. Good morning. Hopefully you're enjoying your Monday morning so far, the start to your week. And by the way, for everyone coming in, make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap the screen if you're on the vertical side. And I know there's a lot of craziness happening around the world, but you guys can like it from me and what we do here. So thank you for that.
Anthony. And we also have this coming from Fox News, breaking it all down as a Texas judge denied Carmelo Anthony a new trial on Saturday after his attorneys argued that courtroom restrictions, hearings held without Anthony present, and the handling of unwritten agreement between his former lawyers and prosecutors violated his rights. You can see this post on your screen coming from Fox News. Just in, Carmelo Anthony loses his bid for a new trial, keeping his murder conviction and 35-year prison sentence in place. A Texas judge rejects the 19-year-old's challenge after 2 days of testimony over courtroom restrictions, hearings held without Anthony present, and a disputed unwritten agreement between his former lawyers and prosecutors. Anthony was convicted in June of stabbing and killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during an altercation at a Frisco track meet. His legal fight now moves forward on direct appeal.
Real quick, we got Mr. Al Patterson also sending in another 5 spot on the Cash App, and he says, money me, money now. Well, yeah, listen, man, I got to give it to you, right?
Just get the money part done.
Give me money, money me, money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
She nailed it. She nailed it. That's exactly right. That was the exact line. Okay. All right. Here we go.
So to go more in depth on this, retired district judge Michael Chitty denied Anthony's request after reviewing that motion, court record, evidence and arguments, briefs, and relevant case law that was according to his order. Now, the order did not detail his reasoning for that decision, but that decision leaves Anthony's murder conviction and 35-year prison sentence in place. His challenge will continue on direct appeal. Chitty heard 2 days of testimony in McKinney, Texas, after the judge was removed from, the former judge was removed who presided over Anthony's murder trial, Judge John Roach, from the remaining trial court proceedings earlier this week. That judge had found that a reasonable outside observer could question whether Roach appeared impartial after he had publicly said that the jury got it right and defended several of his trial decisions. Now, at the center of the new trial
What's up, TNT? My man, good morning.
Hearing was an oral agreement between Anthony's original defense attorneys and prosecutors to keep potentially damaging character evidence involving both sides from reaching the jury. Former lead defense attorney Mike Howard had testified that he understood the agreement to allow Anthony to testify if he stayed focused on the confrontation under the tent at the Frisco track meet. On the final day of the trial, which was yesterday, prosecutors told the defense that the agreement would not apply if Anthony took to the stand and that the defense had opened the door to character evidence. Howard had said that dispute led to a heated break in the proceedings and made Anthony unwilling to testify. So once again, that latest breaking news coming in today is that Carmelo Anthony has lost.
Now, this didn't come today, by the way, because we're covering what happened over the weekend into current time this morning on Monday. So anyways, we got TikTok settles for $400 million in children's privacy case. Oh, shit. And this is actually not surprising with social media companies. They do get sued a lot for stuff like this. It says on Friday, the U.S. Department of Justice announced it had secured a $400 million settlement with TikTok and its parent company ByteDance in a case involving children's privacy laws. And unfortunately, from that, they just leave it at that. They didn't give us any more information on it. So let's go ahead and pull it up and figure out what's happening here.
$400 million settlement with TikTok and their parent company ByteDance in a case relating to children's privacy legislation. The DOJ made the announcement on Friday, and the lawsuit was related to compliance with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. It was filed by the Biden administration's DOJ back in 2024 originally. Bring in Ashley Gold.
I see you've got a hard on for Fox over there. By the way, this is live now. We're not giving opinion pieces. We're actually giving you what's just happening objectively. So whatever.
Senior tech policy reporter at Axios. She's also the co-author of the AI Plus government newsletter. As always, good to have you on here. What did the Justice Department actually accuse TikTok and ByteDance of doing?
Originally, the Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission under the Biden administration, so there was completely different leadership at both these agencies, accused TikTok of violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act by retaining data from minors, saying that they were deleting certain data and then not doing it, and overall just not being careful with minors' data online. For kids in the U.S.,
I'm sure that goes for all people's data, not just children's either. I mean, I'm sure it's reckless like a motherfucker nonstop.
They're really the only class in the U.S. that has their online data protected by any sort of privacy law at all, and that's COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. So these are pretty serious allegations that TikTok was sort of misleading people and saying that they were being less careful than they actually were.
What does the government say about children under 13 creating TikTok accounts despite there being age restrictions?
I mean, this is something that the government has been working on for, since social media really exploded. It's really hard to face that balance of protecting First Amendment concerns and making sure that there's free speech online and that kids are getting the opportunity to use these tools for good with protecting them from what they might encounter online that is dangerous. So the government has really...
I mean, listen, these companies definitely have a duty to protect children. Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to allow children below the age of 18 on a platform, yeah, you've got a certain duty that you've got to, and again, just like I think Steve Posey said in the chat, it's very true. $400 million is a drop in the bucket to these guys compared to like how many billions and billions of dollars are they worth? Yeah, they're willing to pay it off just to get, moving. That's exactly why it was a settlement. But nonetheless, I don't really need to get any further in this. I do agree that we need to protect our children. I mean, that's absolutely true. These companies need to comply in those kind of regards. Okay, so Trump's 50% Canada tariffs were implemented. As you guys know, we were just talking about that. And negotiations suspended. That's obvious. Now, let's go ahead and see if they have any updated information on this. If they don't, then we'll just go ahead and move on. But let's go ahead and see.
Okay, welcome back into Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Live look at the White House, as we've been discussing for a majority of the day. Really, some of the big headlines having to do with this man right here, Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. He gave a news conference. We'll play a little bit more of that, a little bit.
Oh, yeah, Rabbit of Chaos. She comes on the show once in a while. She'll be on the back of my chair just like she used to back in the day. But it's kind of hard now that you guys don't see a background, like my whole room and shit like that. You don't see any of my house anymore, because of the new setup. So, but she's doing great. And I do post pictures of her on my timeline, by the way. We got Virginia Chaos coming in with the 2 spot saying, remember, behave or Naomi will put you in timeout. That's a fact, Jack. You know what I mean? So watch out. We got Mr. Big Boss in the chat. My man, good morning.
Later in the evening, Carney speaking, also the Premier of British Columbia speaking on this tariff situation as well. Carney reportedly suspending trade negotiations with the U.S. yesterday, blaming, quote, unfair last-minute changes to Washington's proposed terms and announcing retaliatory tariffs against the U.S. Carney said that the 50% tariffs on roughly $28 billion in Canadian goods took effect overnight. A live look at British Columbia. It's a live look at Vancouver on this Saturday afternoon. As you'll remember, this comes just days after Trump paused the tariffs for 3 days.
Yes, he paused the tariffs on Wednesday, and then it got paused, and the whole media was saying, oh, this is a deal. No, there was no deal. There was a framework, an outline, basically a frame of a framework and a timeline. That's it.
He announced at the time that the U.S. and Canada, subject to final documentation, had reached a deal. Obviously that.
And I knew exactly that is not objectively what happened, because guess what your homeboy does? He goes and researches the shit out of it. You know what I mean? And it's like, is there a deal that we're about to sign or no? No, there is none. Okay, well, shit, what the fuck?
Did not end up being the case. Rob Gillies is here. He writes for the Associated Press. Firstly, I just want to ask, in 3 days, how would you sum this up? How did we go from being optimistic about a deal to this thing completely falling apart?
Well, if Carney and his people say that the Trump administration made some last-minute changes once it got down to putting pen on paper, and this is a broad array of different trade irritants and issues and sectors, very fraught. So it's tough to pack that all in.
I appreciate that, Steve Posey. That's nice of you to do that.
In a limited amount of time. Now, they've been negotiating for months.
And Brother So Loud comes in with the 5 spot saying, great content, bro, but I could take a bite of that sandwich. Well, listen, man, we're going to go ahead and sandwich this shit.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big-ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
Actual factuals.
Bruh.
All right. Very much appreciate that, So Loud. Let's go.
But when it comes down to it, maybe one side, wants a certain language that makes it more difficult to agree. And there's a number of issues. So, yeah, this is definitely off the rails now.
3 days ago, when Trump had originally announced that a deal was basically on the cusp, at that time, had Canadian negotiators agreed to the same core ideas that the U.S. was? Were they on the same page at that time?
That's actually a good question, Austin. And hopefully Rob from the Associated Press would actually know that, because they were reporting on it, such as AP and Reuters. I was watching it.
It's hard to say. They haven't detailed, both sides haven't detailed exactly how it went. But I think there was some momentum to get a deal, some interest in getting a deal from both sides.
Framework.
But, according to Carney, the prime minister, the United States was just asking for too much. A variety of things that made it just impossible for him to agree to that and then sell to the Canadian public. The Canadian public doesn't want anything to do with Trump and is willing to fight and doesn't want to compromise with the Trump.
Rabbit of Chaos. I agree with you, actually. I'm glad that he's not related to me either.
Administration. There were no tariffs before. And there's been years of free trade and commerce going back and forth. And now it's
I knew what you meant, Steve Posey. I knew you were talking about Dean rolling.
Problematic and causing inflation in both countries.
What type of goods are going to be tariffed?
So they're going to be dairy, appliances, agriculture.
What's up, Charlie Rose, by the way? Good morning to you.
Agriculture equipment, paper, electronics from the U.S. We'll see. They haven't released the full list. That's all we know as of now. But those tariffs will come on U.S. goods come Tuesday, just after Labor Day on September 8th.
So if Canada sends, I was doing some reading on this, if Canada sends nearly 3/4 of its goods exports to the United States, then how much leverage does Canada realistically have in this negotiation?
Well, that's also a great question, Austin. And as you guys would know, if we're willing to pay, it's going to end up hurting them if they stop doing business, essentially, or they keep with the trade war. Objectively, the United States is going to be able to outlast Canada on finances and resource. So naturally, we have a little bit of an advantage just objectively from that standpoint.
Well, I mean, Canada also sends 4 million barrels of oil a day to the United States. So it's the largest source of
imported oil,
foreign oil for the United States. Potash, farming. I mean, Canada could put an export tax on those critical.
And if we start doing that on resources, that's the major escalation in trade wars.
Sectors that the United States depends on to fuel its economy.
Absolutely.
So there's certainly a leverage there if they want to use it. And then the leverage is also the Canadian people. They just don't want anything to do with Trump. And they're fed up. They're fed up with his 51st state talk. They're fed up with the tariffs, the trade war. They're fed up with being treated as not a separate country.
Yeah, most Canadians I know, I would say definitely dislike Trump for sure. And understandably from their side, like I try to also be empathetic and actually put myself in their shoes. Like if I lived in their country, how would I feel about certain things? I do get it.
Or being respected. There's even a petition for the ambassador to be recalled by about well over 200,000 Canadians that can't stand this guy and want him gone.
Yeah.
To our understanding, will this have any sort of impact on the U.S.
What's up, Pablo? By the way, good morning.
Mexico-Canada trade agreement?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Carney said today that it'll have an impact. He did say that it's given him a better idea of what the U.S. wants in totality. But it makes it very difficult to reach an agreement whenever they sit down to do that broader deal.
I guess my final question would be, how do the two sides get back to the negotiating table? What is it going to take for this to be undone?
Well, that's also a very good question that Austin proposes. He's doing a really good job on this topic. We got Mountain Woman coming in with the 10 jewels. Appreciate the jewels, by the way. Thank you for that. They all add up, obviously. So thank you very much.
The fact that Trump thus far, and since this fell
What's
apart
up, Judy Bug?
late Friday, hasn't posted on social media, as far as I can tell in the last number of hours, perhaps that's a positive sign that he could maybe want to ratchet down the pressure and the tension, and perhaps at some point talks will resume. I mean, the Canadian tariffs won't come on into effect until September 8th. So perhaps there's a window there, but the two sides seem very, very far apart right now. Or perhaps if there's a change in who negotiates with Canada, There's speculation that Howard Lutnick got involved, and that may have been caused a wrinkle at the end.
Well, listen, there's nothing is off the table essentially with Trump. You know, people are like, "Oh, it'll never happen." Well, things can still happen. I mean, whether it be good things or bad things, objectively, shit does happen oddly like that with him. All right, let's get into this next story, though. Iran strikes 5 ships in the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. talks stall. Now, we actually reported on this in the Discord server because this happened, I believe, on Saturday. Yes, I believe on Saturday. Anyways, there was 5 ships that were struck in the strait, and of course, we reported on that in the Discord breaking news area. But all right, let's go ahead and get into this.
Right now, on the right-hand side of your screen, you are taking a live look over the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, an image that's been...
Oh, shit. What's up, Joker? Good morning to you, by the way.
Very familiar as we near the 6-month mark since the U.S. and Israel launched the start of Operation Epic Fury there against Iran. Right now, I want to pop this up on your screen right here as we follow all of the latest. The New York Post now saying that 5 vessels were struck by Iranian projectiles over the past week, leaving 2 people injured or dead. The ships reportedly damaged, but not lost. We're also learning right now that Iran has executed another person who took part in those protests.
Another protester?
Yes, against the Iranian regime. That was earlier on this year in January, prior to all of this getting underway. The judiciary accused him of taking, quote, operational action for Israel, the U.S., and hostile groups, and cooperating with them against Iran's security and national interests. As always, there is a lot to discuss here, so I do want to bring in Eylon Levy, former Israeli government spokesperson, to help break it all down. Eylon, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us.
It's a good morning from here in Tel Aviv, Josh.
Good morning.
And honestly, I really do not like this guy. Just so you guys know, I think he's totally obviously biased. He's a former Israel spokesperson or spokesman, and he is heavily biased. So I will let him get off the top report. And if there's any type of, I'll just call it out as it goes.
Well, first off, I want to start by asking you overall, before we get into the situation with Turkey, because that is a big situation right now.
Is.
The Strait of Hormuz, as we continue to follow all of this.
And Turkey's not only the big situation, there's 3 of them.
As we wait to see how this plays out, can you explain for folks where things kind of stand there, what Israel is doing, Israel, how they're getting involved? Break all of that down for folks.
The Iranian regime still believes that the Strait of Hormuz is, pardon the pun, its trump card. It believes that it can put enough economic pressure on the United States that it will capitulate to its increasingly ridiculous demands like reparations and withdrawing American forces from the region. And Iran will end this war with total control over the Strait of Hormuz, charging tolls. President Trump is right to reject that out of hand. He's right to reject Iranian negotiations that would let it charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, control who goes in, who goes out, and stand up for that principle of free international shipping for the sake of the whole world. Right now, America's claiming that it's able to get some of the oil through a southern route in the Strait of Hormuz. Not quite clear how that is happening, but the Iranian regime, this is its last Hail Mary, its last chance to put economic pressure on the United States. And President Trump believes that it's economic pressure on the Iranian regime that will, in fact, bring it to heel, hoping that the fact the regime can no longer pay its military because it's so short for cash is going to put pressure on that IRGC regime to cut a deal that is acceptable to America.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Listen, these guys, they're not our ideology. You gotta remember that. These guys are willing to die for their shit, okay? You think they're not willing to go broke doing it? Of course they are. Of course they are. All they have to do is just survive, and they know it. The United States needs an all-out win, and they know it. That's a problem.
But I think no one should be surprised if Trump concludes eventually, probably after the midterms, that he has no choice but to return to military action against the Iranian regime, because it's not a rational act.
It's the cycle that we keep finding ourselves in. This bullshit. I mean, we did it with Iraq. We did it with fucking Afghanistan. Now we're doing it with Iran. I mean, shit. All these wars, kind of the same bullshit, but this time it's just obviously more emphasized, and there is a lot more chaos. It is more volatile. Shit is more public with the use of AI, with YouTube channels such as myself. There's way more information out there than there used to be back in the day. So
it's not trying to cut a deal. It's trying to bully the United States of America. And I think it's really overreading its hand here.
And of course, breaking or developing news that we are following. I mentioned this off the top, but I want to pop up this post actually coming in from you here on.
Yeah, what's up, Kurt, my man? Hopefully you're enjoying your morning so far, the start to your week. Great to see you.
Social media, and it says Erdogan, talking about the leader of Turkey there, has openly threatened Israel with invasion. He has called for an Islamic alliance against Israel. He has publicly prayed for its destruction. His interior minister says he dreams of becoming governor of Jerusalem. Israel cannot ignore the Turkey threat. Explain for folks out there exactly what's going on and what's being done really by Israel to avoid this happening.
I really don't care. I'm not going to lie. Let's see if we have any other things here. It looks like we do have something from Iran, International English. Let's go ahead and read this out real quick.
We're sending signals of, quote, weakness and passivity.
Hold on. Sorry. This is in regards to the Iranian president.
Their own people.
And this is another interesting post coming in.
Real quick before he reads it, we got Mr. Al Patterson coming in, gifted out a membership. Let's fucking go. Absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for not only helping me, but someone in the IWF, my man. So thank you very much for that.
Iran International English. It says Iranian president and parliament speaker were sending signals of, quote, weakness and passivity to Iran's adversaries. That's according to the hardline newspaper there operating out of Tehran. The newspaper argued that framing the choices as war versus negotiations or livelihoods versus missiles served Iran's adversaries and could encourage further attacks. It also rejected claims that Iran's faced hunger or an absence of economic activity, blaming economic problems on failures by the government, parliament, and other authorities rather than military spending. Of course, we know that Iran has claimed that it's in charge. It's doing great. President Trump saying that's not the case. Their navy has been destroyed. So the fact that you have a paper there, of course, it's a hardline newspaper, but saying that they are projecting weakness, what does that say about where things kind of stand?
He's going to give such a biased take that I don't know if I want to even hear it. Nah, I don't want to. Let's go ahead and move on into this whole ordeal. As you guys know, there was unfortunately 5 ships that were struck. We put it in the Discord, so if you guys are interested in the exact details, go in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord already, go in the video description down below, and that's where you can get the invite link to get into the Discord. It's free, and we all hang out in there. And then, of course, I have a little breaking news area, and that's where we put all the minute-by-minute plays. All right. Speaking of the Discord, we actually broke this news as well a day before the mainstream media did. It was actually about 12 hours. Jake Lang arrested. Minneapolis protest leads to several riot charges. All right, let's go and bring this up. Figure out what the hell's going on here.
That is a live look over Minneapolis at this hour as our next story takes us to that location.
What's up, my man, Kerry? Hopefully you're enjoying the morning so far.
Take a look here at Jake Lang, a familiar face, as he is a far-right activist. Now, Minneapolis police saying they arrested him during a protest this weekend just days after he made headlines for his involvement in another anti-Islam demonstration. That one was in Dearborn, Michigan. Now, you're looking at the video here out of Minneapolis just yesterday, captured by our Fox Minneapolis team. In a statement from the Minneapolis Police Department, they said, quote, at approximately 11:50 a.m., far-right extremist Jake Lang.
Now, I actually saw the video on social media, and that's how I actually knew that he got arrested, was because I saw it before it was reported on. You know, I saw it happen in the video.
So arrived near Minneapolis City Hall with other people in 2 vehicles. Both vehicles drove onto the sidewalk in front of City Hall toward a crowd of people gathered there. MPD intervened, and LE Partners later arrested all occupants, including Lang, on probable cause riot. Both vehicles impounded, and additional arrests by MPD.
Look at these idiots. Minneapolis holding up an Iranian flag. Stupid.
Occurred near City Hall. So it appears that at least 5 people, including Lang, were arrested. And again, we have that aerial video that shows some of that.
Yeah, his sign was insane, dude. I couldn't even believe that he would do that. I mean, that shit's just you knew that it was going to be bad, right? You knew it.
Underway. Right now, what I want to do is play out some of the remarks from Mayor Jacob Fry and the police chief, or interim police chief here, as they broke down more about exactly what happened.
I'm here with Chief Peterson and Deputy Chief Campbell at approximately 11:50 a.m. Far-right extremist and known racist Jake Lang arrived near Minneapolis City Hall around the corner of 3rd Avenue and 4th Street. Both vehicles then drove onto the sidewalk in front of City Hall toward a crowd of people that were gathered there. Minneapolis police officers responded in an attempt to get the vehicles off the sidewalk, as well as to keep the peace. Officers tracked both vehicles after they left, and with the assistance of Minnesota State Patrol, we were first able to stop the vehicle at the intersection of 35W and Washington. And the second vehicle was stopped in Bloomington with the assistance of the Bloomington Police Department. All individuals that were in the two vehicles have been arrested by the Minneapolis Police Department, including...
Here, I got you, Big Boss, because I also agree.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
Shit.
Bruh.
The racist Jake Lang. All occupants were arrested and both vehicles were impounded. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Peterson.
Sadly, Minnesota, their downfall has been tragic.
We can give a bit more of the details and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Bill Peterson, Interim Chief of Police for the Minneapolis Police Department. Just kind of give a rundown of events here. MPD had been aware of this demonstration for several weeks and developed a robust incident action plan in preparation for it. That plan included putting on duty significant numbers of personnel, working with our public safety partners, and placing barricades outside City Hall designed to provide safe separation between demonstrators and vehicle traffic. As the mayor said, at approximately 11:50 a.m., Jake Lang arrived near 4th Street and 3rd Avenue South with 6 other people in 2 vehicles. Both vehicles unexpectedly and abruptly drove onto the sidewalk adjacent to City Hall, traveling eastbound at a crowd at a very slow speed. Almost immediately, a confrontation developed between members of the crowd and individuals associated with both vehicles. Chemical irritant, believed to be mace, was deployed by individuals on both sides. There were also reported assaults between members of the opposing groups. MPD officers who were staged inside of City Hall in very close proximity immediately deployed, surrounded the vehicles, and worked to move them off of the sidewalk and away from the crowd. Officers were assaulted with thrown objects while extracting the vehicles from the crowd and after the vehicles left the area. The vehicles left the area to de-escalate the situation. MPD communicated the vehicle's direction, and both vehicles were subsequently stopped by our public safety partners. One vehicle was stopped by the State Patrol, as the mayor already alluded to, near Washington Avenue and 35W. MPD ultimately arrested all 3 occupants on PC riot charges, and that vehicle was impounded. The second vehicle, as the mayor stated, was stopped.
Okay, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this so you guys can see the actual arrest video, the craziness of it. I'm just seeing random videos of it on social media. So let's go ahead and share this tab real quick. That was a very short little play. That was Spider-Man getting crazy on there. Let's see. Okay, I don't need the fucking music to it. Spider-Man going crazy over there. Let's see. Hold on. No, hold on. I'm looking for more of that whole bit. So he's in the back of there with one of his signs, and, you know, guys holding the cross or whatever. And of course they're going crazy. Not just because it's Jake Lang, but also because of the sign. I mean, he totally rage baited these people, and they fell for it. You know what I mean? And of course, it makes Jake look like an idiot too. There's these demonstrations are kind of I don't know, just lame, I guess. Anyways, let's go ahead and stop sharing that. There was actual video, like crazy video of, I mean, just 3 minutes of all out just craziness. It was wild to watch. We got Tootie Bug coming in, by the way, for the 4 months, saying 4 months, baby. Yeah, that's right. Very much appreciate the support there, Tootie Bug. Thank you very much. It goes a long way. All right, let's go ahead and that's enough of Jake Lang. I'm over it. Let's go into Iran vows retaliation if new sanctions issued. All right. let's go and get into this, get back over into the Middle East.
As we are expecting the U.S. later on this week, in fact, tomorrow, to announce new sanctions against Iran. A little bit more on this, as we do understand that is set to happen with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. This comes as Pakistan's army chief will visit Tehran tomorrow to continue efforts to bring peace and security to the region. That's according to Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson. Pakistan has taken on a mediator role in negotiations between Iran and the U.S. aimed at ending the war, which began back in February. Two Pakistani government sources did confirm that visit to Reuters. The second source saying that the talks would also address recent developments in the conflict, including President Trump's threat of tougher sanctions on Iran. Now, all of this comes amid heightened tensions as...
Now, this is in the regards to the economic D-Day that we have already discussed many of times since it's been announced. And of course, we actually got the updated just 2 hours ago. U.S. threatens economic D-Day for Iran. I guess it happened again. I'll just go ahead and read it now. It says, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has said it aims to sever, quote, enemy economic lifelines sustaining Iran in what officials have warned will be the toughest sanctions campaign ever seen. While the Trump administration has yet to provide details about what is dubbed economic D-Day, U.S. officials have made it clear that Iran's trade partners are in their sight. Anyways, back to this.
Iran threatens a military response to U.S. plans for sanctions that could put further a strain on the Islamic Republic's ailing economy. So these talks will coincide with an announcement tomorrow on details related to the planned sanctions, which the U.S. officials have said would be, quote, the toughest sanctions in history on Iran. President Trump warning of economic consequences against any country that provided any type of lifeline to Iran as he seeks to isolate the Islamic Republic.
By the way, real quick, let's get the likes up, guys. I very much appreciate it. We put a lot of time, effort into these shows, so I very much appreciate it if you guys would hit that like button. And it's free.
Now, oil shipments, of course, are continuing to be at a virtual standstill in the Strait of Hormuz, with Tehran threatening to strike any unauthorized oil tankers that try to transit this waterway.
And as we were just talking about how Iran just struck, 5 ships in the Strait. We got Sterling Wheel coming in, by the way. Good morning,
also
too.
Comes as
and those 5 ships were struck over the weekend, by the way.
Iran's economy is already under immense pressure from sanctions. To talk more on this, I do want to bring in Jonathan Ruhi, who is a JINSA fellow for American Strategy. He has been following this war very closely. And Jonathan, we appreciate you joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you so much for having me back. My pleasure.
So I do want to start off with the very latest announcement. We are expecting the U.S. to announce these sanctions tomorrow against Iran. And this really seems to be the strategy.
Which we have, theoretically this morning. Hopefully that's the details of it. Now, we don't really need to speculate because we do have the update to all this shit. So it might be even better if okay, I'll let them get off the first question here, but we've got this morning's update. This is from yesterday.
For now, to really put the pressure on Iran's economy and seeing where that breaking point is. As we take a look at these new sanctions, what might we anticipate with this announcement tomorrow?
So,
which is today.
I think there's a couple of things to look for, although I would add the caveat that the Trump administration certainly is capable of throwing curveballs at any given time.
Yep.
But I think in general, given the posture we've seen so far, you would expect maximum pressure in its latest form to really focus on clamping down on Iran's ability to export any energy, particularly overseas, given the blockade.
Well, you got to remember, 80% of Iranian oil is sold to China. So, yeah.
While the U.S. has its own direct sanctions on Iran, we've had those essentially since the Islamic Republic came into power more than 40 years ago. We're looking more at what are called secondary sanctions, which is going after companies in China, but also any.
No, not. But we do have Santa Clarita. Yeah. So LA County firefighters are battling a third alarm fire that reportedly destroyed multiple businesses. So there's that. But I don't see anything on Reno, Nevada. But damn.
The other country that does business with
No
Iran, essentially
containment.
blacklisting them from the U.S. economy, imposing financial penalties, things like that. And I would say, in looking at what I expect to hear tomorrow, I would go back to the first maximum pressure campaign the Trump administration put in place back in 2018, which essentially focused on driving Iran's revenue-generating exports down to zero through a lot of these similar measures. I think it's mostly going to be focused on that. But I would say, in addition, I'm hoping to hear that the United States will also mention the enforcement of UN snapback sanctions on Iran, which were put back in place last fall, given Iran's failures to comply with the nuclear deal. And those could actually have a lot of teeth to them. They could enforce essentially an embargo on anything Iran would want to rebuilding its military. And those have very strong enforcement authorities.
So basically any and all. Okay, so that's basically what it is. All right, quickly before we get into the update of this morning regards to economic D-Day, and supposedly we're supposed to get an announcement today. Hopefully what I have here queued up for us is the announcement, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a report. But first we got to do this in chronological timeline because that's what we do. Hawaii braces for a tropical storm Moke, M-O-K-E, just 1 week after Lala. Man, just Hawaii's just getting absolutely pummeled. As you guys can see from the title, Hawaii faces flood threat. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Here we go.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. My name is Alexandra Goldberg. It's good to be with you this Sunday. We're tracking severe weather in the Pacific. Hawaii is bracing for another round of severe weather as Tropical Storm Moke makes its way towards the Big Island, bringing heavy rain and strong winds to an area still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Lala. County of Hawaii Mayor Dr. Kimo Alameda joins.
What's up, Gary, by the way? Good morning to you.
Us now to discuss the latest. And Mayor, what are the current conditions you're seeing?
Well, right now we're crossing our fingers. It looks pretty good. Weather forecasts tell us that this Moke could pull to the south, and we might only experience some of the moisture. But that's still...
Okay. They're the way that they're saying is Moke, not Moke. So that's just, I'm not Hawaiian, okay, dude.
Rain, mind you, we just got over Lala, which just brought us 35 inches of rain, and so our ground is very saturated, so it cannot handle any more rain.
Yeah, and of course those
Exactly, Chris. It's always been conflated with Trump. Trump has definitely conflated the stock market to be the economy when that's not the actual economy. Anytime that he refers to the economy, he's talking about the stock market. So, yeah, you're right. Anyways.
Storms potentially, of course, I wanted to ask you, what types of impacts do back-to-back tropical storms have on, of course, the people, but also the infrastructure on the island?
Well, I mean, our infrastructure is taking a toll right now, especially on the south side. So we're on the Big Island. And the island of Hawaii is taking the biggest hit right now. And so our roads, crews has been out 24/7 for the past 7 days. Our electricity has been out in some areas, but that's being restored. So, we just hope that Moke continues to move to the south. And so far, we're hearing that's happening. So that's good news for us.
Of course, our thoughts are with the local communities. You brought up parts of the power grid. What is the status of power outages on the island right now?
Great question.
I mean, a week ago, we started off with 65,000 homes without power, and we worked our way up.
Damn, that's already a lot.
With help from different, from even Southern California, folks came in to help us out, and as well as different islands, and we were down to like under 6,000 homes without power, so that's much better.
Wow.
But still, that's 6,000 homes.
So they're at 6,000. I mean, that's like he's saying, that's still 6,000 homes without power. So, I mean, it still sucks, but that's way better than 60,000.
So we're working hard to restore that power as we speak.
But unfortunately, they're about to get, this whole storm coming through and wrecking them again.
You're in the community talking to folks. How are locals reacting to this potential for 2 back-to-back storms? What are you hearing?
Well, it's very disheartening. I mean, we're just in recovery right now. And so to hear that another storm is going to hit us is a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. You're in the rebuild phase and here comes another one.
But we have a very resilient community, and everybody pulls together. And I'm very impressed and touched actually by the way we are treating each.
Yeah, this year it's been brutal for them.
Other around the island. So there's a lot of aloha being spread around the island, and as the mayor, I take pride in that, and hopefully that'll get us through.
Absolutely. Can you
share? Man, that's totally sad, man. All right, let's go ahead and move on into this economic D-Day thing. We've got this coming out just this morning. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Here we go. Bam.
Thank you all for staying with us on this Monday. Let's continue on with more of the top stories of the day. Now, here we focused on the war between Russia and Ukraine, but we're also turning our attention to the Middle East.
Yes, of course. And the reason why today is supposed to be like why we're paying attention to this is because we don't know what all completely details, every detail, of course, in the regards to economic D-Day and how it's going to be implemented, who directly it's going to affect. But we are supposed to get that announcement sometime today, supposedly. So anyways, hopefully this is it.
And the war between the U.S. and Iran. Taking us out to a social media post courtesy of the Associated Press. It says breaking, Iran's real currency hit a new record low as the economy has been battered by ongoing sanctions. And as Washington prepares to announce even more extensive sanctions, it said would be an economic D-Day and would add further pressure. I also want to take a look at this social media post courtesy of Reuters. It says the U.S. threatened Iran with what it called the greatest financial offensive ever marshaled as it prepared to roll out economic sanctions on August 24th that target Iran's trade partners. Iran, in turn, vowed to shut down all oil exports from the Gulf if the economic war continues. Bringing us out to a live look of the White House in Washington, D.C. Now, we also know that the new head of Iran's top security body warned on Sunday that Tehran will see any country's support for new U.S. economic measures against the Islamic Republic as an act of war, while Iran's president defended a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. as the best way out of the stalled conflict. Later on today, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is expected to announce the new measures after the U.S. vowed to impose that unprecedented level of economic warfare and isolation. But it'll be on a country that has lived for decades under sanctions. A lot to discuss here, so joining us.
Okay, so I'm reading it right here off of the Associated Press. And let me go ahead and share this tab over here for you guys. So they're talking about Iran's real currency hits new record low as U.S. prepares to announce more sanctions. And this just coming out obviously this morning. the real, whatever however you say it, I say real, but dropped to 2.02 million to the U.S. dollar as trading opened on currency markets. The currency had already been under pressure before the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th. Now Trump administration has promised even stronger sanctions than those already in place that would be announced Monday, including secondary sanctions on countries that continue to do business with Iran. Let's see here. It says, and she just basically read this part right here. The real dropped to $2.02 million to the U.S. dollar as trading opened on currency markets, obviously. Iran's official central bank rate stood at around 1.5 million real to the dollar, but the market rate is what most Iranians pay. The currency had already been under pressure. Of course, we already know that. Iranians find daily staples increasingly unaffordable, it says. Since the war began, rice is up some 60% and price of beef are more than 150% higher. The International Monetary Fund forecasts that GDP will contract more than 5%. Still, economic pressure has not yet translated into political pressure. Iran retains a key strategic advantage. It attacks and threatens threats on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. They have brought traffic in the vital waterway to a near halt, damaging the world economy and heaping pressure on U.S. President Donald Trump ahead of congressional elections. The war, as a result, has developed into a fight over who controls the strait, through which a fifth of the world's traded oil transited before the conflict. Iran is now refusing to fully reopen it unless it charges ships for tolls. Now, of course, now we have Iran and Oman. Oman is kind of stabbing us right to the face. I mean, they're doing it right to our face right now. They're negotiating with the IRGC to get a deal to where the incoming traffic would essentially be, the Iranians toll, and then the outbound traffic out of the strait would be told by the Omanians. So anyways, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and exit out of that and bring our attention back over here. 3, 2, 1.
Us next into the program is Jonathan Sayed. He is an Iran program research analyst with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you again.
Thanks for being here. I want to touch on one of the
What's up, Hillbilly Hank? My man, good morning.
those lines from the Associated Press reporting. Iran, a country that has lived decades under sanctions already, the U.S. promising way more economic pressure today. How much more can they really inflict on Iran to make them change course?
That's an excellent question. And it's more about the strategy than the tool itself. So, assuming we can inflict more.
Well, with their real compared to United States prices of how much they would cost, oh, it would take a dump truck. You know what I mean? It takes 2 million reals of their money to match $1 US.
Economic cost against the Islamic Republic, and that can later translate into political pressure. The question really is this regime capable of behavior change? I know you and I have talked about this topic quite extensively, but getting a bit into the details, there are three different angles. One is what the United States can do in addition to the existing maximum pressure campaign. We can discuss that as to what other options there are, what other third countries can be pressured so they halt trade with the Islamic Republic. Two is what would economic collapse look like? And three, can that actually change the behavior of the regime? And
that's the thing right there. Can it actually change the behavior of the current regime or the people? Will they actually rise up? I mean, we're not talking tens of thousands. You don't need tens of thousands. You don't need hundreds of thousands. You need millions of these motherfuckers to go and say, you know what? Fuck the IRGC. Fuck this government bullshit. Obviously, it's not working. We're broke as a joke. We can't even eat. That is what needs to happen. But unfortunately, as long as the people allow it to happen over there, they're just going to essentially try to survive.
On the second point there, I think oftentimes we use the word economic collapse a bit vaguely, but what we're seeing right now and what we have seen in Iran in the past few years is what economic collapse looks like. When people are no longer using cash because the inflation is so high, they always have to use card. When food prices are over 125% inflation, you see that increase in essential goods, not to mention the currency devaluation. So we are effectively at a point where the economy is, in practical terms, collapsing. So the question is, does the average authority in the Islamic Republic see this as enough pressure and see it as an existential threat? The short answer is it can, only if it's supplemented with other threats against the regime, and the economy is only one.
Yeah, I could tell right when I said it like that. I was like, yeah, that was the way it's
major pillar of that.
We're taking a look here at a social media post courtesy of the White House. It says the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country, and they are quoting their President Trump. I also want to bring us out, though, to another social media post. I want to focus on Iran's response as well here. So Iran International English, one of the news media outlets there,
which is essentially just Iranian TV, just translated to English.
Saying that Iran will treat any country's participation in or support of the U.S. economic campaign against Tehran as an act of war and could halt all oil exports from the Persian Gulf. That's according to the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council and what he had to say on Sunday. And they included a quote from him. It says, "If the economic war continues, not a single drop of oil will be exported, neither through the Strait of Hormuz nor anywhere in the Persian Gulf." He went on to say Iran will regard any country's participation in or support of America's economic war against the Iranian people as an act of war. Jonathan, what is your assessment of this response from Iran? I mean, how much further are they taking this war with these active threats?
There's 2 points on that. One is the individual making these threats, and two is about the threats themselves. First, this is the new Supreme National Security Council secretary recently appointed, part of another about 7 appointments by the new Supreme Leader. As you and I have discussed, we don't know if he's alive or incapacitated. Nonetheless, we see these recycled officials, and we cannot even call them new because they have been around since the...
You know, I really, really hope that you're wrong on that, Gary. I really hope. I'm just praying to God that it doesn't happen.
Iran-Iraq war, even prior to the around the Islamic Revolution. So we have to keep in mind, this is a regime that is becoming more and more paranoid, but the hardline nature of it has remained more or less about the same. These individuals that have been working under the first Khamenei Senior, the second Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic that was removed on February 28th. So it's more or less the same strategy, just implemented by different people. So these different rivalries between different factions within the Islamic Republic do not disagree on the strategy of escalation, as you see here. They want to get more concessions out of the United States. It's really a matter of who's close enough to the circle of power that can actually implement this policy. So that's one key note. In addition to that, this is a continuation of their policy. So when they went after practically every Persian Gulf Arab country, and I'm thinking Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, and of course going beyond that to the Levant, Jordan, and Israel, any country that has any ties with the United States. Well,
yeah, but Oman is actively saying, fuck you guys, we're going to jump ship. you know, and we're watching it happen. So
they simply host U.S. military, or if they keep any military equipment sent by the United States, like defense systems, they were struck by the Iranian missile barrages and drones. So that strategy is there. But what we're seeing under this new regime is that even though it is becoming more or less more paranoid, it also is under the impression that it can gain more concessions. So it's more of a contradiction in their own policies. But nonetheless, I'm also looking at the latest threat coming against Europe. They said they're going to target any European country that's housing U.S. bases. I know Bulgaria.
Yeah, I did hear about those threats. I mean, I read the report on it.
It was one of those discussions, and it wouldn't be the first time that they struck Europe. They struck Turkey, that's a NATO state. They attacked Cypriot bases that are housing UK facilities. In addition to that, they of course went after Diego Garcia, that is quite far from Iran. So they've demonstrated that they don't hesitate to escalate, and that is because they don't really fear the repercussions. Because what they've seen so far is that when they take the world economy by hostage, the price they have to pay is very cheaply made military installations around the Persian Gulf. So it's a matter of shifting that or tilting that calculation in Washington's favor.
Speaking of some of these countries that have been struck by Iran, we have a post here from the New York Post. It says the UAE suspends all trade with Iran, quote, until further notice, after accusing Tehran of firing ballistic missiles toward the country. But on the other side of this, Reuters China is saying that China's foreign ministry said on Monday that Beijing will closely watch developments and do what is necessary to protect its rights as the U.S. prepares to unveil new Iran sanctions that are expected to target Tehran's trading partners.
Now, that's exactly right. So this coming out from Reuters. Now, China has to be sweating right now in the aspect of, if this happens, this is going to be a big deal that's going to affect China. Okay. And that's what the region really cares about. That's what everyone cares about. But no one's really talking about it to that level, because I don't know why, actually. But what I am going to tell you guys is 80% of oil that Iran produces and exports, 80% of that goes to China alone. 80% of it. So this is going to be a big deal. So of course China is going to have a super close eye on this shit right now, because they know they're most likely going to be affected by this. I can almost guarantee it.
Now, Iran does have some support from China and Russia. Jonathan, how do we kind of compare these two sides here? The UAE and some countries saying they're not going to trade with Iran versus possibly some of the support that they continue to get from places like China and Russia.
This is likely part of the bigger campaign that Besant was talking about, pressuring third countries to prevent any trade with the Islamic Republic. Now, firstly, talking about the UAE, it is a major success because that really arena continues to be, well, yet to see, but at least was one of the biggest fronts for Iran's money laundering.
Yeah, but she would never get canceled over here.
Operation Sanctions Evasion. Now, whether that was just oil smuggling, or when they brought in some of this revenue through the UAE, through Dubai, and laundered them, and again, channeled them back inside Iran, or purchased dollars, or whatever it is that they did with their schemes. But this is to say, it is not necessarily going to halt Iran's activities, because how money laundering in nature operates is that it's not part of the conventional transaction systems, which means even if formally you seize some of these relations, the third-party actors, the gray area, the front companies, the actual kleptocrats that are doing these operations, in theory, are still more or less exploiting the financial institutions that they've infiltrated, as we've seen with the UAE. But this is to say, of course, it's going to be a bigger hurdle for them. It's going to be much more challenging. And parallel to that would be China, and specifically Hong Kong, actually. That, again, is...
See, I was telling you guys, listen, man, this is a big deal when it comes to China.
Another hub, and
I'm glad that he's emphasizing that.
Regime uses some of these areas. It's more than just support from a local government. It's more so having the freedom to operate. A lot of weapons procurement also goes through Hong Kong and Dubai. So I remember under the first Trump administration, the Iran Action Group heavily pressured China and actually threatened to sanction their banks and different financial institutions should they continue to allow Iranian money laundering operations. Assuming a similar threat is facing China right now, and realistically, the comment that we just saw is in response to some of the back channel pressure from this administration. So that would be the number one win if China actually not even necessarily stops backing Iran, but as far as not allowing the regime to exploit their financial institutions to launder money for weapons procurement, or just one way or another fund the regime, that would be a major roadblock. And I'll end it with this. The blockade is achieving a lot of these key points here. Of course, physically not allowing Iran to move its number one export, which is oil, has inflicted a lot of pain. So that continues to really be the main catalyst of Iran's economic decline.
Correct. He is objectively correct on that. Whether you agree or not with Trump's way of, handling that whole situation is by putting another blockade on top of a blockade, essentially. The blockade on their side is obviously the strait, but we are blockading all the way on the right side of that image right there. It's blocking the Iranian ports completely. So there is zero exports for them. This was breaking earlier today. Al Jazeera, Iraq proposes a joint security council with Iran and Saudi Arabia. Oh, shit. Oh, man. All right, let's go ahead and get into this next story because we are way into overtime. So we're way into overtime. You know what they say about overtime? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your freaking money. Absolutely. Feels good to be a G. Done.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Exactly what she said. All right, here we go. Let's go on and get into this. Multiple businesses destroyed in LA County fire. LA County firefighters are battling a third alarm fire that has reportedly destroyed multiple businesses in Santa Clarita. And this just coming out since we've been live. Actually, no, right before we went live. So just a little over an hour ago.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 8:46 if you are joining us over on the East Coast, and 5:46 over in Los Angeles County. That takes us to some breaking news that we are covering at this hour. As you can see there on the right-hand.
And real quick, just wanted to announce there's actually breaking news coming out right now. Trump vows, quote, Iran completely collapsing. And that's what he literally tweeted or posted, whatever, on X, or actually it was on True Social that he posted it 19 minutes ago. But we'll be getting into that. I'm sure there's going to be heavy discussion about that after this.
Side of your screen that is coming in from Skyfox with our Fox 11 LA team. Massive flames there in LA County. And we do have limited information, but a little bit of information at this point coming in from our crews with Fox 11. I'm going to pop this up to give you that live look that is coming in again.
What's up, Carney Vanguard? Shout out to my man. Hopefully you're enjoying your Monday morning so far.
You can see an aerial view with massive flames and many, many crews on the scene. So per LA County Fire, they say the call came out around 3 a.m. local time. That would be 6 a.m. Eastern. It was a 3-alarm commercial fire. So it sounds as though there are 3 businesses, a theater, a restaurant, and an auto body shop that are all fully involved, according to investigators and fire crews. Again, those are some massive flames that are shooting from those buildings. 100+ LA County firefighters are on the scene working to fight this fire at this point. It is not quite clear just yet what is the cause of the fire, if there are any injuries, but it does look as though.
Yeah, so let's get the likes up, everybody. I know there's a lot of chaos going on, and everyone's like, well, I don't want to like it for all this shit. Well, no, you're not doing it. You don't have to like all the craziness that's happening, but you guys can like me and what we're doing here on Insanewheels, what we do here. So thank you.
Our Fox 11 LA team is on this, so we're going to lift up the audio here and listen to their live coverage.
Open businesses down there, but the actual structure itself are built probably in the early 1900s. Wood frame, and with not really this type of fire in mind when they built those buildings, or with the knowledge of how to prevent that from spreading to building to building. LA County Fire calling this a 3rd alarm right now. They have probably close to 100 firefighters there on the ground, maybe a little bit more at a 3rd alarm. You can see a number of ladder pipes are up out here, and that's the way they're battling these flames. It is too dangerous to send their firefighters into that building with their hose lines because of all those roof collapses and also, again, the age of these buildings. Right now, though, the fire definitely continuing to burn out here. Main Street, not really the main street that you would be driving down if you're in this area, but Railroad Avenue, definitely going to be a busy street down here. In the morning hours, it's going to be closed in both directions right there at Market. Sending it back to you all in the studio. I'm Stu and Sky Fox.
Yeah, Stu, this is a historic little corridor that the city has spent years really working to turn into an important arts and entertainment.
Damn, that sucks. And it happened to be a place that they are actually trying to keep and maintain like that. It's not just a normal whatever cookie cut business center or something, or you know what I mean.
District, as you mentioned, more than 100 LA County firefighters out there. Your shot actually gives us a good look at how they are attacking this and just how bad this is, giving you a look at.
Yeah, that's a fucked up scene.
How many firefighters are out there working on this, trying their hardest to get this stopped and stop it from spreading. I believe there's an auto body shop also in the area, a couple other businesses in this little corridor. It's a really bad fire.
It was over the past 15 years that the city of Santa Clarita decided to really focus heavily on this area, the Old Town Newhall area.
It is next to Hart Park, the historic area where people go and visit because of its historic significance. And over the past 15 years, there was a master plan to give this an arts and entertainment focus, to make it a cultural and a commercial hub. And so we have dozens of businesses.
Yeah, it sounds like a historic little area, which totally is a bummer. All right, that's enough of that. Very unfortunate. We'll keep an eye out on any of these reports on fires. Sterling Wheel made me aware that there was like 200 fucking fires over the weekend over there in California. So it's just on the West Coast, I think he said. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into Trump vows Iran completely collapsing, he quotes. So let's go ahead and bring this up. He posted this on Truth Social. Here we go.
There on the right-hand side of your screen, a familiar image that is over in the Strait of Hormuz, as there is once again not a lot of movement. But we are hearing today from President Trump. He just posted a short time ago on Truth Social, and I want to pop this up on your screen. He simply says, Iran is completely collapsing, President DJT. Then that comes on the heels of an announcement later on today regarding the quote-unquote economic D-Day that the U.S. is going to put forth against Iran.
And supposedly we're going to hear that announcement sometime today. Now, when it does happen, I'm going to write a little report on it and put it in the breaking news section in the Discord. So if you guys haven't joined up on the Discord, you got to do that. That's where we do minute-by-minute breaking news and where the IWF hangs out and the community all comes together and chills. So to get in the Discord, video is the link is in the description down below, and you'll be able to get the invite.
Iran, though, already vowing to retaliate ahead of that announcement. Here is what Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent posted on social media. This was just a few hours ago. He said, President Trump has dismantled Iran's military capabilities, destroyed nearly 100% of its military factories, and buried its nuclear program. We are now entering the end game. At dawn begins an economic D-Day, the single greatest financial offensive ever marshaled against an adversary. The Islamic Republic has subsisted by dressing extortion as security guarantees. It's drawn strength from a calculus that regards Iranian retaliation as certain and American enforcement as negotiable. Under President Trump, that era is over, and those who fear the danger of defying Tehran ought not to discount the cost of testing Washington. The president has created the conditions to leverage every agency, every authority, and action many assumed we would never summit.
Yeah, Discord can be a very, very toxic environment. That's exactly why I stick to me and the IWF. I really don't fuck around with, I'm in a whole bunch of friends' Discords and stuff like that. There are other YouTubers and stuff. But the truth is I don't even go in them. I don't even check it. You know what I mean? I'm always checking the IWF Discord. And that's all I put my attention to is that in the regards of Discord. So
our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains the tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Right now, to talk about all the developments there, and there are, as always, a lot of them, I want to bring in Javed Ali over at the University of Michigan to help break it all down. Javed, as always, thank you so much for being here with us.
Josh, nice to be with you. Thank you.
Of course. And first off, I want to start by talking to you about this quote-unquote economic D-Day that we've been hearing a lot about. Where does that kind of progress things, assuming we get more information about the sanctions later on today from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent? What does that say about where things kind of stand between the U.S. and Iran, and could this escalate things even further?
So definitely a different tone in the administration's kind of language about the pressure they're putting on Iran. It doesn't seem like we're near the potential for high-intensity military operations the way that we've seen over the past 6 months. And this language about an economic D-Day, that's really interesting because it's unclear what that means on top of the existing set of economic pressure against Iran, which has been significant and has lasted now for years, if not a couple decades. And that includes sanctions on hundreds and probably more of companies and individuals in Iran. Obviously, the naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, which is preventing Iranian oil from getting in or from leaving, and that's the lifeline of their economy. They have tens of billions of dollars of frozen U.S. assets. So that's the existing state of play right now. What this D-Day set of tools and sort of penalties look like on top of that, that'll be really interesting to see. And as you hinted at, Josh, too, Iran may retaliate over the next couple of days if they sense that there is even more economic pressure that is going to be applied to them.
And as I mentioned here, President Trump posting this on Truth Social just minutes ago, simply saying Iran is completely collapsing, President DJT. So continuing to make those statements. But in the wake of this quote unquote economic D-Day, we also have Iran saying that it will retaliate, not sure quite how. But as we talk about the Strait of Hormuz, which you and I have discussed, I would say countless times over the last 6 months, as it's also important to note that we are nearing that 6-month mark since the start of Operation Epic Fury with
See, the only thing that I really am actually concerned about here is, again, I got to reiterate, China buys 80% of all oil exports from Iran. Okay. So what this whole thing is going to do is do a second layer of basically sanctions. And then on top of that, all the other countries that continue to do business with Iran is going to also get sanctioned, or whatever the case is. It's gonna fall on all under this. Now, China being the big fucking player of, I mean, it's the United States and China. I mean, that's really who rules the world like that. But that's what I'm most worried about, is how it's going to affect China, in turn, how it's going to affect us after that, what their retaliation is going to be.
The U.S. and Israel joint strikes there, I would say, over on Iran, where all of this kind of began.
No, they're not going to react to the threat. They're just sit back very patiently waiting for it to actually happen, and then they do it. China already came out with the report with Reuters. Reuters China came out with their report and said, we are heavily watching exactly what the details of Economic D-Day is supposed to be. And if this gets implemented, you know what I mean? They're just sitting back, like, watching.
We're not seeing a lot of movement there in the Strait once again. So what do you kind of make of that? Who is in control of the Strait? A question I have asked you so many times before.
Well, the issue of who's in control of the Strait, it is basically both Iran and the United States, because they're both trying to impose a mutual blockade against the other. Now, what we've seen, news reporting that the U.S.
Yes, and unfortunately, what that in turn means is you've got basically a stalemate where shit's not moving, it's not open, and it's not necessarily completely closed either. You know, because we do have ships that go in and out of the Strait. I mean, very low number compared to what it was. And that's actually with the help of our U.S. military that's also doing that. We've got basically on the left side of this map, you've got all of, well, that's where the blockade is for the IRGC for us and the rest of the world or whatever. And, well, it's really against the United States. But then our, you got to remember, our fire jets are over this whole area on the left side right now. I mean, we own the skies. And because of that, like, as you guys know, the military is blown the fuck up. So they really rely on their mosquito fleet. Their mosquito fleet is a smaller, smaller size little boats that got weapons, and they're more of a nuisance than anything. But because now we've got the Supreme, just a nonstop air, we've taken over the entire air. So it's really hard for those mosquito fleets to actually go out there and implement a force, because they'll instantly get blown up basically when they show themselves. So what's happening is our naval ships and all that shit, our warships, are on the right side of this, on the outlet side of the Strait. And what they're doing is basically what we call Operation Freedom. Trump initially talked about doing Operation Freedom, where we would essentially go in and take and escort ships back out, with our power of the air and, of course, with our warships. So anyways, that's basically what happened. It was threatened and it never really happened. So it kind of just went away. It wasn't happening. And then about two and a half weeks ago, we started doing this thing where we're doing, we're going in essentially and escorting these ships in and out.
Warships have through the
we're not escorting in, we're escorting out. That's really what we're doing.
Southern coastline of Oman, and probably other locations have escorted tankers and other
absolutely
ships carrying commerce to and from maybe not into the Gulf, but at least out of the Gulf.
That's exactly what I just corrected myself on as well.
Out a range of Iranian long-range weapon systems. So that's interesting. But Iran clearly has not been able to move its oil and gas. And the biggest consumer of that, or purchaser of Iranian oil and gas, is China. And so with this economic D-Day that's going on, and this mutual blockade that's happening, how are China's economic interests going to be affected by this?
Exactly. I'm glad that he is looking at it that way, because that's exactly, honestly, I don't give a fuck about Iran and that shit. You know what I mean? But how is it going to affect their trading partners in turn who do business with us? That's going to be a problem. I'm just saying. So we're going to be watching for the details that come out on this today. Let's go ahead and see if there is any posts that come out with this other than Iran is completely collapsing from Donald Trump. There is not. Okay, I'll just go ahead and listen a little bit more because I'm interested in what he's talking about in the regards to China.
Because again, they have been traditionally the biggest purchaser of Iranian oil and gas, and have they been able to offset that significant amount they purchase from Iran with other countries over these?
What's up, Wank? Good morning, by the way. Hopefully you're enjoying your Monday morning so far.
Last 6 months, I don't think the answer to that is clear. So this is going to affect China as well. And then how does that affect U.S.-China relations? So this is very complex.
Yes, exactly. He just nailed it. That's exactly my point. W on this guy up here. All right. So listen, that pretty much wraps us up for the entire morning. I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for allowing me to do this Monday through Friday. And then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning where we don't even discuss any of this shit. You know what I mean? We have a good time over there. Anyways, much love, honor, respect to everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Also, make sure you guys hit that like button. Double tap the screen if you guys are on the vertical side. And we'll be back, obviously, tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness. Until then, God bless everybody. And be safe out there. Much love.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on 2 wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the